feel good. Feel excitement and a peacefulness. And I don't think it's based so much on conditions. There's some conditions that I'm excited about. That's probably where the excitement comes from. But the peacefulness is from cultivating it. From one having the time to cultivate it. Deciding to have the time. Making that a priority. It's not easy because there's a kind of restlessness, like I should be doing something. But I am doing something. I'm doing something very, very important. The self-reflection and the time to just be with myself. And I'm not filling that space up with busy work, with cleaning and tidying and organizing and doing things that I think I should be doing. Instead, I'm just I feel like I'm withdrawing some of the need to control my environment. I'm drawing it back into myself, and the control is more about my attention and energy. And the excitement is about the potential of redirecting that energy. And for example, I like the idea of being a digital nomad and being able to move around freely and work and have adventures and take that stability with me and not have to worry so much, being able to stay at a place that actually I'm not investing too much energy into because it's not my home. So I'm not putting energy into that. I'm putting energy into my present day, my moment, and what I'm creating in the moment. It's very easy for the home to consume a lot of energy. I'm realizing that. And I think it's been a substitute for security and nurturing. And that's okay for a time. It's just that I feel I'm outgrowing it. As I feel like I've kind of outgrown my birth family. I don't, even beyond dislike of their behavior and treatment of me, more than that even is outgrowing the need for that security. I know it's inevitable anyways. I've thought long ago about my parents' death. And not in necessarily wanting it to happen, but just aware that it would happen. I think working with seniors and seeing the dynamic of children, adult children, and their dying parents, and noticing like, wow, they're still very dependent on their parent to be their parent, even though they're 50 years old or 60 years old or whatever. They never grew up, and now their dying parent, that's causing them a great distress. They don't even know what to do with themselves, and they're kind of too old now. They've missed their opportunity to really evolve and be adults themselves. This I identified a long time ago as something that I do not want. I mean, I've always been quite independent, left home at an early age, and have resisted authority. I think it's very much part of my path to be my own parent, to be my own authority. And again, this is a message that I want to codify and even relate to other people, because I think it's a huge problem. It's something I think that we're growing out of. I think that we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, that there are maybe some things that we want to retain from a previous nuclear family kind of setup. But I think we're moving back more to a tribal arrangement, and that actually will be more beneficial. I don't think that the nuclear family was, I mean, it really seems like it only lasted for kind of a short period of time. Even my great grandparents, well, it seems to me like that just a few generations ago, there was extended family engagement, and families were bigger, so it was just. But then more recently, like the boomers, we're really this kind of insular. They were the maybe their parents and them were the two generations that really kind of codified the nuclear family. But then it fell apart, whether it was feminism, whether it was, I'm not sure what, but that nuclear family kind of fell apart. I'm not going to go into it. I don't care to dissect it really at this point, because what's more important is like what we have taken away from it. I mean, my generation had so many divorces, and in a way, Gen X was benefited by parents, by fraying nuclear family, where, yeah, I mean, we fell through the cracks in some ways, but also I think we developed a resilience, and there was an interesting culture, I think, that emerged, like punk music and some counterculture stuff, grunge, and that questioned the old kind of 1950s paradigm even further beyond the 60s. Anyways, I think that, I mean, I really am living even further out, being a gay man and not interested in replicating heteronormative society. Heteronormative society is evolving too. we're seeing way more fluidity in people's sexuality and the kind of partnerships they want to form. It's quite fascinating. Giant mug, giant liter of tea. I've noticed that since I'm not working and I'm not pushing myself to do anything productive. Well, that's not true. I've been doing more exercise and been doing this. But I'm more relaxed and I am quite sleepy. But I think it's because I'm getting in touch with this. I'm healing. In that I'm allowing my body to kind of feel the weariness that's had been dragging around for a while. So I'm glad I'm allowing myself that. I think it's very, very important. Like, I'm coming out of this real difficult time, and the world. I feel like there's going to be difficulty ahead, but it will be more outside of me. And so, what I want to be able to do is make sure that I'm strong. I'm deeply rested and nourished and capable. You know, I've done my inner battles so that I can be out in the world battling. And, you know, that looks like lifting people up. It doesn't, I don't mean like, you know, killing people or that kind of stuff. However, being a man, I think part of the role is being a protector. And so if there are people that are being harmful, then standing up to them and opposing them. You can only truly be benevolent if you're also capable of harm. So I want to be capable of harm. I know I am capable of harm, but I want that to be very precise. I want to be very mindful with my weaponry. And so this is me making sure that I've addressed my own shadow. Not that it will be done, but I want to at least have a foundation of that. And I sense that I am going to be continuing to do that. I think that is part of my work, is speaking to the shadow elements of society and our world. And I mean, I've had an inkling about this before, and this is my interest in sex work, which I started because of wanting to heal my own wounds around sexuality. But then realizing, like, wow, there's a lot of other men with a lot of issues around sexuality. I mean, I think every human being on the planet has likely some issues around sexuality, because it's kind of endemic to being human, is this potent energy that sometimes other people abuse, you know, when we're coming into the world and we're quite innocent, and people abuse that. And then hurt people, so the chain of pain continues. And I don't want to add harm to the world. I want to add healing to the world. And I think that's something that I have a skill in, potentially. I've done some of it, and I want to do more. I think it's part of my path. And I'm aware that I have to heal myself too. It's so varied and complex and fascinating too, because, for example, I something that I'm really called to is this kind of performance that's of catharsis. So Buto and shamanic dance. These things, I think, are very fascinating ways of doing healing for the person performing it, but also for other people observing it. We have mirror neurons in our brain that when we're observing something, we feel it. And I think that the role of a shamanic performer, of an artist, is to create this offering whereby people can have a vicarious experience. They can be a shamanic journey for them. And I feel I have a lot of intuition about this, and a capacity that I need to develop and share. So there's a bearing of one's soul in that. Like it's you need to be kind of foolish. You need to be kind of like the fool, where you're constantly stepping off a cliff's edge. And there is ultimately a kind of vulnerability that occurs. And there is a tremendous power in dispelling fears. And again, I have an intuition about this. I have a calling. And this is what I want to offer to the world, is this kind of Heyoka Buto magic. Because I think it bypasses the intellect. We've had like enough of the intellect. We overthink and slice and dice things to infinitum. Versus, this is not really getting us. It's not. We're way heavy on that side. We need to balance ourselves out with this more. It's not just like a feeling intuitive thing, but I think, so if we're thinking Aquarian age, then actually also there's this balancing with Leo. So there is a kind of like superficiality that I think is like the manifestation, the liberation of the energy that's been sequestered, kind of like, for example, if we think about like how when it's all, everybody has their own everything, their own tool set, their own vehicle, their own whatever. That's how, there's a lot of waste in that. If we move to more collective humanitarian thing where, say, for example, every neighborhood has a community shop where you can go and use tools, or you can, it's like a blending library where you can borrow a drill or that kind of thing. All of a sudden there's energy that is liberated. There's more community engagement, which I think creates, I mean, that's a kind of audience too, right? So that creates more opportunity for creative expression, for a positive performativity, where there's theater and there's music and there's dance and there's like, when people come together, then there's a kind of audience and there's a collective energy that can bubble up through somebody and can become manifest, which is what energy is wanting to do. It's wanting to bubble up and it's wanting to be manifest. But if we're all sequestered in our own little box that's just replicated, and we're all just like, you know, this hierarchical structure that's a hierarchy. That's a hierarchy. Anyways. Then I feel like there's this energy that's trapped and locked up and sequestered and hoarded. And in the Piscean age, it's like the energy is not tangible. It's everywhere and it's all pervasive, but you can't really grab onto it and you can't really utilize it and you can't really see it. It's not readily available, and so there's a doubting of it even. It's not real. There's a disbelief in it. Whereas with the Aquarian age, and us moving into a more Aquarian kind of society, which it really appears that we are going that way. The concern is it going to be dystopian? Because it could be like that. That could be the negative side of the Aquarian age, is a kind of ruthlessness that sanitizes everything. But my hope is that instead it is more this kind of tribal society that celebrates the arts, right? That celebrates creative expression, because that creative expression can continue to inform the tribe and the collective. And we can, we don't want to bring everything down to the lowest common denominator, which is what the woke thing, what the political correctness thing does. It brings everything down to the lowest common denominator, and that is definitely not what we want to do. That's having fear, a shortage consciousness about it all. No, we want collective celebration. We want collective culture building. I know that I have this desire to share and to be publicly creative and all that, and I have since I was young. But part of my journey was that impulse got shut down, and that's been a wound that I'm addressing, and then realizing like how important it is to me, and ultimately that I let that happen. I believed what other people said about me, or how they treated me, or whatever. I believed in some story that shut me down, and now finally at almost at 49 years of age, I'm reclaiming that, or claiming it, right? That I do want to express myself in that way, warts and all. Like, I really do want to be, to reveal the like weird and grotesque and the strange and the erotic and the spicy and the like, dispel the demons in that process, because the demons are all about the shadow and the repressed things, right? The unpalatable and the shamed. And that's that trapped energy that would haunt us, that would be that would be resentful of goodness and well-being and joy in life. So we want to dispel that by bringing it to the light and reintegrating that energy that has been sequestered or expelled or encapsulated in a in some kind of rejected realm, some back dusty corner of our mind. And the arts are very good realm for this. Religion is not so much, right? Religion has been where a lot of the wrestling with good and evil and trying to bring light to the darkness, right? But that was so weaponized, and I believe that there have been a handful of evil people throughout, because the universe produces some of these characters, and whether as a test of us or what, it's a mysterious kind of thing. But more than ever, again, we're waking up to this, and we're taking our power back, and we're not giving power to religions that are saying who you are is shameful and you should repress it, and you can't trust yourself. You've got to trust an external authority. No, I believe we need to discern the difference between religion and spirituality, and that's, I think, been going on for a while. And I mean, there's problems with people like hating on Christianity, but clearly, like, whenever you hate on something, it's because there's some, like, you wrestling with something inside of you. And so I think once you claim your authority, you're not threatened by things, right? So for me, wanting to be a performer, really, a shamanic performer, that means like dispelling all doubt within myself. I need to dispel all doubt within myself and have this bravery, have this unabashed willingness to bare my soul. And that's the approach that we need to take. To integrate these things into the collective, right? We need to not be afraid of the rejection that previously has been the thing where, like, the chicken that's got one weird wing gets pecked to death by all the other chickens. That this kind of cruelty in nature that seems to occur. I think that if we think about the Aquarian age as being the age of man, this represented by this cherubic man, this then it's about us coming into our humanity, like truly understanding what distinguishes us from the animals. And I believe it's what we describe as the human heart. And interestingly, that is the body part of Leo. So again, these 6 kind of different currents, you might say, that have these 2 polarities, Aquarius being on one end and Leo on the other. I think that the heart of Leo is the way to balance Aquarius. We should not be like pulling down individuals. Instead, we should be raising up individuals. Not in the way that we've done with celebrities, because that's not there's an inauthentic thing that's going on there. There's celebrities, they're kind of created, and they're not really created by the masses. The masses have to be coerced into supporting them. So I think it needs to be a little more organic. We just need to get the orchestrators out of the way, right? We need to like collectively, that like image where it's showing that there's a politician and they're on this like board that's out over a cliff, and then all the people are standing on the other side of it. We need to like wake up and dump those politicians, those individuals who are feeding us these negative messages and trying to manipulate the masses. We need to be very collectively vigilant to be immune to narcissistic leaders. And it's mostly like us just being empowered as individuals and not losing ourselves in the fray of the crowd. That we can be both a collective and individuals. And maybe that's the paradox of Aquarius and Leo, is this interplay between having all the attention on oneself and sharing the attention, sharing the resources, sharing the accolades and the warmth of the sun with everyone. So yeah, I don't know, I think that those signs don't weigh heavily in my chart. I don't have any planets in those 2 signs. But regardless, that's the time that we're in, and having Pluto going through Aquarius in my first house right now it has an influence. But also it's just the time, it's just what's going on in the world, in the greater society. And I think my contribution is from my Ariesness as an initiator. So, and I think an atoner too, having this Capricornian influence, having Moon in Scorpio in the 10th house. I feel like my job is kind of as this shamanic atonement initiator. That because we are still kind of cleaning up elements of the past age, right? We can't fully move forward. There's this blending, but there's still a lot of baggage that we're needing to clean up. And I think that means, facing our collective demons. This is coming up to the surface, and people are kind of losing their minds. Like it's a little dicey, it's a little crazy, right? And I don't think I think there's a lot of deaths because people just can't transition through it, and they'll die, and then they'll be reborn in a new age. But some of us are meant to be bridgers of the ages and here for it. And I think that I definitely am. I'm here for it. The hardship that I have gone through is to strengthen me and give me resilience that I may lend to others during this time and the time to come, because I think that it may last a while. It may last the rest of my life and beyond even. That the world is in flux and that there's a lot of change and instability. It wouldn't surprise me if that was the case, that for the next 100 years, there's instability. I mean, has there ever been instability on the earth? It seems like in the past there was some dynasties and different things that seemed to last for a long time. And I think that as humanity matures more, that we will slow down, that we won't, that collectively as we mature, we will recognize the importance of slowing down, both individually and collectively. That cultures that have been around for a while are like that. I think about the Australian Aborigines. They're not rushing about and trying to build infrastructure and all that stuff. No, they know about the dream time, and they take the time, right? They are able to enter the timelessness, the stillness beyond time. So we need to remember that stuff. We need our shamans, we need our spiritual people. That's me, that's what I am. And I grew up in a culture that didn't teach me that, but that's okay because I'm remembering it